welcome back again on Hour of Healing. This is Candace. As usual, I'm going to be your host. I'm here with Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe, welcome back again on another episode of Hour of Healing. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Sister Candice.
How have you been? I feel like it's been a while.
Yes, it has, and I'm doing very well. We've had a few guests over the past 2 weeks or so, so certainly it's been a little busy, but I've been good. I've been good.
That's great. And I hope you viewers out there too, you have been good. You've been great. We've been praying for you. And we hope you've been praying for us as well. Today's topic, as always, is going to be a thought provoking topic. It's titled, What Are You Becoming? Right? What are you becoming? Are you becoming like your mama? Or your daddy? Like we're here to find out. That's what it's all about. So I'm gonna throw it to Dr. Joe to give us the background of how this topic or this theme came to be.
Yeah, Sister Candice, thank you for hosting us again today. Like I always say, by the grace of God, we try on this platform to answer some of life pressing questions because I find that in answering some of these pressing questions is where our healing really comes from. And so today's topic really is an attempt to try to answer one of life's questions or life dying questions, and that is to what gain?
Mm,
After all that we have done, after all that we sacrifice, after all that we have given, when you are done giving yourself or giving your all, the
mm,
question is to what gain? And today's discussion, as we dive through it by the grace of God, we hope to be able to answer some of these questions. That there is always a gain for someone to have. And if someone is going to have that gain, there are certain things that need to be in play, whether it has to be with your personal choice, others' choices. So there are a few things that, by the grace of God, we will be unveiling today as we dive into this very thought-provoking topic, as you mentioned. What are you becoming? Because believe it or not, everyone is becoming something.
mhm,
And an example of something that is very, very common whenever we talk about becoming is
mhm,
the life cycle of the butterfly. And it's a very interesting phenomenon, Sister Candice, because when you look at the butterfly that gives the lays an egg, right? Now, when the egg hatches, it looks nothing like a butterfly. It is a caterpillar. That is the larva stage of the process or the cycle, the life cycle of a butterfly. Now, if anyone, including the caterpillar itself, knows the end of the caterpillar, the beautiful butterfly that everybody loves to play with or see, will be more gentle with the caterpillar.
mm.
But how many times do we see a caterpillar
We want to smash it.
and we want to smash it? But when we see a butterfly, we adore it.
True.
The important thing here is
Mm,
the question that I say presses us is to what end? When the caterpillar endures all the hatred, all the smashing, all the hate that will come towards it, or the adverse surroundings that it has to endure in order to grow, it becomes something that everybody loves, cherishes, and adore. So, to what end? That will be one of the present questions that we will be answering based on our discussion today.
Wow, that's very interesting. Because in life, I think that brings me to thinking about the future, basically, like wherever you are, whatever stage you are in. Don't just look at the hate now or like how we want to really smash you, but just think ahead, right? There's beautiful years to come or beautiful days ahead. But I can't help but wonder what you mean by what are you becoming, right? Can we get like a definition or a summary of what it entails? Like, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about becoming, like I said in the beginning, a parent? Or what are we becoming in terms of career choices? Like, are you becoming a doctor? Or, like, what do you mean by what are you becoming?
Yeah, Sister Candice, that's a very powerful question, and that will be the cusp of our conversation today. Because becoming, believe it or not, is a recurrent theme in every endeavor, every facet of the human life. Everybody is becoming something. And so, in literature, in psychology, in physiology, in theology, even, there is always the idea of becoming. So, what do we mean to become? To become basically means to undergo certain changes. And so, certain keywords, whenever you hear the word becoming, should trigger in your mind. And one of those has to do with undergoing changes, like I talked about with the butterfly example, the life cycle of the butterfly. But also, another word that should ring in your ear whenever you hear the sentence or the phrase becoming is to be more suitable for a particular thing, a special occasion, or a particular occasion, or to come into being. That is also something that has to come in. And then to grow. Growth is also a process, or is a phrase that should come into mind whenever you hear the word becoming, or what are you becoming. And this is important, Sister Candice, because the truth is, as living, breathing beings, we are created to become.
True.
If you don't believe you were created, at least you believe that you came from somewhere. There is the theory of the survival of the fittest, or human evolution, or the evolution of mammals, and all these things. Whatever it is that you believe, whether you were created, whether you are the superior species of a monkey, or whatever it is, there is that insinuation that you come from somewhere. And if you come from somewhere, then it presupposes that you are going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very important, because you will realize that if you come from somewhere, whether created by a being, or whether you underwent metamorphosis and became a human being, if you are coming from somewhere and going to another place, then there is that process in the middle where there is change, where there is suitability, where there is coming into being, where there is growth to eventually have a certain state or a certain quality. And so that is really the definition of what are you becoming. That is where we are going with this conversation. That the earlier we accept
Mm-hmm.
that we are in this process of becoming something, the better we will be at equipping ourselves by making the necessary choices. Because every decision and every choice we make in life is fueled by what we are driven to become.
Right.
And so, if you don't accept this and start making this part of your daily choices, you will end up being the victim of others' choices. And how sad and how painful it is when we encounter people day in and day out who, because they refused to make choices about their future, to make choices about what they become, they have become victims of others. Because believe you me, because you are on a trajectory to become, there is always a choice to be made, whether you make it yourself or somebody will make it for you.
Yeah, but I can't help but think that if I don't know what I'm becoming, right? If I don't know what I'm becoming, how do I accept that I'm becoming something? Should I just accept that I'm becoming something because I'm aging, or like I don't know if you understand my question, but I feel like there are people who wants to accept something, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you are saying is actually their desire to want to do, but then they don't know what you're accepting that you're becoming. So
Mm,
I don't know if it's identity, or if it's where I'm going that I'm not sure of,
mm.
or I don't see where I'm going and who I am now. If,
Okay, okay. So if I'm understanding, then some of the important areas to focus on becoming. that will kind of help fuel our choices. Is that what you asking?
Yes,
Wonderful.
what I'm trying to ask is like, is there a stage
Mm,
before knowing the important stages to focus on? Is there
okay.
a pre-stage to that?
Yeah. So the truth is, we grow not just in age, but in wisdom and in knowledge. And as long as you are growing in wisdom and in knowledge, the process of growing or aging alone should tell you that you are going somewhere.
Where you are going?
Yes. And so there are certain areas or certain benchmarks in our lives that we all don't or shouldn't miss, because you miss those benchmarks and life becomes just an extra task. And so, one of those benchmarks, Sister Candice, is the benchmark of maturity, that we've all heard of people who are at a certain age, number wise. And by societal standard, we expect that their mental faculties, the ability to process certain things, has to also be at a certain level. It doesn't matter whether you went to school or did not go to school. For instance, if you are 10 years old and you still crawling, we will say that you have a disability. Why? Because at that stage, there is a certain level of maturity that you're supposed to have. What are some of those things that constitute this maturity? Being able to walk, being able to talk, being able to feed yourself. These are all benchmarks that are set. And so, if you don't attain that, we say that you have a disability or you are sick. Something is wrong with you, right? Now, in the same way, Sister Candace, every stage in life has its benchmark that we have to attain. And if you do not attain those benchmarks, if you do not get to those places, then you are dealing with a disability. And so there are certain important places. I will list a few important measures that you have to choose to become. Because if you don't choose, you will find out at a certain point in your life that the only thing that has grown, the only thing that has become in your life is the age that you are, which
And,
is your number.
and your body.
And your body, yes, absolutely. Your body will change too. And so it's important that you choose to become. And what are some of these areas that you should choose to become? One of the most important areas that anyone must choose to become is to choose to be a solution in life and not a problem.
Mm,
And I tell you why this is important. Because, Sister Candace, when you choose to become a solution in life and not a problem, you begin to see the opportunities in situations. The reason why a lot of people miss opportunities in life is not because they lack the necessary skill or ability, but because they have not chosen to become a solution. And so when they see the opportunity, instead of seeing themselves as a means to bring a solution, they see that opportunity as a problem.
mm,
And if you see anything as a problem, you either will reject it because you hate it, or you will reject it because you are not interested. Nobody is interested in problems. If you are alive and you want to just welcome problems or be a contributor to the problems that plague society, then you are not choosing right.
mm,
And so you will miss out on life defining opportunities because you are not being a solution. I want to balance this, Sister Candace, because whenever you say something like this, what some will say is that we are telling or advocating for a carefree life. But this is really not a carefree life. For instance, when you hear of a tragedy that happens in a locality near you, if you have the right mindset, or if you have chosen to be a solution, right away you empathize with the people who have been plagued by that disaster. But the mindset that you have chosen to become right away starts pointing out ways that you can help solve that problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we are not advocating for a carefree life or an I don't care attitude,
Right.
but rather with the right mindset, choosing to be a solution and not a problem will help you become valuable to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the value that you carry determines who calls for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your value determines the rewards that you get. And so, if you are a solution, then you are going to get a solution's reward. If you are a problem, people would be wanting to get rid of you. So, the next time you start criticizing people for trying or attempting to rid themselves of you, ask yourself, are you being a solution or are you being a problem? So choose to be a solution in life. Sister Candace, another thing that I would say about this point is that do you realize that when you choose to be a solution in life, you conduct yourself appropriately?
Mm. You
And
don't
so
cause
you,
problems.
yes, so you don't sit around wasting time. You don't sit around trying to destroy others. You don't sit around trying to cheat others,
Mm.
but rather your focus becomes trying to make others better in an attempt to make yourself better. I find something interesting in life, Sister Candace, that I truly believe that our greatest satisfaction in life does not only lie in what we are able to do, but the fulfillment that we bring to others in doing what we are called to do. I think that is one of the things that gives us the most satisfaction in life. Another area that I want to focus on is to choose to be a person of peace. Choose to be a person of peace. And just like you choosing to be a solution helps you to be an asset for humanity, choosing to be a person of peace enables you to become an asset to people. Because, Sister Candace, as long as it depends on us as individuals, we have the ability to choose peace.
Mm.
No matter the circumstance, no matter the trouble, no matter the situation, we have the ability to choose peace. After all, do you recall when someone came at you with their temper at 199 degrees or whatever it was, boiling hot, hell bent on picking a fight with you, and you gave a soft answer?
Mm.
I believe in Proverbs it says that a soft answer turns away wrath, but the words of the fool stirs up strife or anger. Whenever you choose to become a person of peace, you are not being a fool, but rather you are paving the way for others to realize their mistake. And so, whenever you want people to know the error of their ways, rather than attacking them, rather than being angry, frustrating, fighting them, choose the path of peace
Mm.
and see how remarkable the turnaround will be. There are many of us in life today who, because we chose the path of anger, we chose the path of fight or haughtiness, we have severed relationships that could have helped us in our destiny pursuit.
True. Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I also want to bring about, and maybe I will list probably 5. I have a few listed here, but for the sake of time, I'll probably list 5. The other thing that I want to talk about is to be a person who chooses to have a good name. We are talking about what you are becoming. And these things, these areas of our lives are of utmost importance, Sister Candace, because no matter what you do, if you don't see the opportunity in things, you will not fulfill your destiny. Because at the end of the day, God, in His infinite wisdom, places our destiny in opportunities. And so, maximizing one opportunity here and another opportunity there and another opportunity there is what compounds itself to lead us into our purpose. And so, when you miss your opportunities, when you don't focus on these areas, you will miss out on destiny.
Mm.
Or, best case scenario, you will short live your destiny. That is why these areas are important. So, how does choosing to have a good name play a role here or become an important factor? Let me show you how. Do you realize that if you have a good name,
Mm-hmm.
it does not only impact you, but it impacts everybody who is associated with you?
True. Mm-hmm.
I believe when we talked about number your days in the evening phase and the night phase, I talked about how sometimes people are able to destroy the legacies that they built in their afternoon and evening phase because they don't have a good name.
True. Mm-hmm.
There are literally people in our world today who, when you hear their names, no matter how resourceful you are, you will reject helping the person associated with them.
Yeah.
In other words, we will say that there are people whose names close opportunities and shut doors in life.
Yep.
The other thing is a good name, according to my Bible, says that it's better than riches. I know I have mentioned several times that we'll be talking about dynamics of wealth. I believe we will talk about that when I return from my upcoming trip. And so, Sister Candace, these things are also, in a way, serving as foundation for that humongous topic because everybody wants to be wealthy. Other than that, it would take us months to be able to go through it. But a good name is better than riches because a good name is one of the things that the Bible calls true riches.
Mm.
When we talk about true riches, and we will talk a bit more about this in the dynamics of wealth, but true riches are things that buy money. Because, Sister Candace, think about it. If you have $100 bill in your hands right now,
Mm-hmm.
it can only afford to buy so many things. But when you have what will buy $100, you can go to the same place that $100 will buy you, let's say, 4 trays of food.
Right.
And true riches will not only buy you 4 trays of food, but will give you a server and someone to clean the dishes for you.
Right.
So don't ever underestimate the value of true riches. The reason why we struggle a lot in life is because most of us have lost the value or the importance of true riches and are pursuing money. But if you have cash, as in a dollar bill, and I have a gold bar right now, who is wealthy? Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a good name, a name that will open doors of opportunity for you, A name that will lift you from being a secretary or a desk clerk and move you to a CEO position, or a name that will move your son or your daughter from a janitor to a CEO position. No matter how much you give the janitor, the honor and the value that your name will carry for your generation will far surpass that money. So, one of the key areas to focus on becoming is to become a person with a good name. How do you become a person with a good name? We'll talk about that in the next section. I said I will list maybe about 5, so let me try to speed through this. The other area that we need to focus on is to choose to be a person who builds good relationships. Sister Candace, it is a true saying, biblically, physically, emotionally, economically, in any way, shape, or form, Sister Candace, is that if you want to have friends, you must first prove yourself friendly. You cannot say that you want friends but not be friendly. And it's important. We've talked about relationships at length because I know what relationships have done for me. There are things that have come my way, not because people even gave me anything, but because they mentioned it to bring my awareness to it. I was able to pursue them. A classic example is where I work right now. Sister Candace, I never knew anything about the company that I work with. But a friend, listen to this, a friend had an invitation for an interview there and was discussing with me. And I said, well, what do you have to lose? At the end of the day, they will pay for everything for you to go do an interview there. So how about you just go and assume that you're going on a vacation to a place that you may never go again? This friend goes or comes to the company that I work with to interview, calls me and say, I think you will be a perfect fit for this company. A company I knew nothing about. Long story short, I eventually interview at the company and the rest is history. Power of relationships. My friend didn't have to give me a referral. My friend didn't have to give me money. My friend didn't even have to mention my name to them. All they had to do was to mention that there was such a company that existed. The truth of the matter is, in relationships, a lot of the hard labor is done for us. And Sister Candace, the other reason why becoming a person with relationships matter is because it is in relationships that we get to bear each other's burden. Life is hard. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. But if you did not know, or if you haven't found out already, you could live in mansions, $1 million houses all your life, and you will still come to this conclusion, like the writer, the king Solomon, wrote in Ecclesiastes, that life is difficult. Life is difficult. So why not build the relationships that will help you carry the burdens of your life? Why not build relationships that will help you lessen the pain of life? Sister Candace, many people harm themselves or go into mental health diseases because at the peak of their pain, at the time of their greatest heartbreak, they have no one to share with. No matter the burden that you carry, when you have someone to share that burden, it lessens it. And so the saying goes that two are better than one. It's not just a principle for married couples. It's not just a principle for parents and their children. No, it's a principle for life. And my dear listener who have been complaining about your family all your life, do you realize that friends are the family that you get to choose?
Mm.
Rather than spending the time being negative about the family you were born in that you had no choice in the matter,
Yeah.
how about you
Having
choose
a way that you can
a
choose.
family that you had a choice in? How do you choose that relationship? You know, it's very interesting that Sister Candace, irrespective of how great God is, how mighty He is, how wise He is, look at the human physiology and the details that each and every day has to take place for you to still function as what we call quote unquote normal. But yet, still, this God decided or chose to build a relationship with man for his praise. So, why praise yourself? Build the right relationships, and the relationships will praise you.
Interesting.
And then finally, Sister Candice, the last thing I want to talk about on this point is to become or to choose to become a people or a person who is content. Contentment in life is often mistaken for satisfaction in our day and age, but they couldn't be any different from each other. The one who is content is grateful. The one who is content is aware of where they are. They are aware of the help they have received in relationships. They are aware of the peace that surrounds them. They are aware of the good names that have paved the way for them. But they are not satisfied. They desire to be likewise for others.
Mm.
The one who is satisfied, the boss stops with him or her.
So it's not the same.
It's not the same, never the same.
Mm.
The other thing is satisfaction brings or births greed. Because, Sister Candace, the stage that you are satisfied with today, I want our audience to understand, will be the very stage that they will hit tomorrow.
The person will hate.
That same person, that the success or the things that you are hailing in your life today, you will hit that same success and accomplishments tomorrow if you don't progress or if you don't become. If you don't keep growing,
Mm-hmm.
you will hit your current level tomorrow.
Mm.
So satisfaction brings greed because the satisfaction you had today, when you don't grow, keep growing, tomorrow you don't have anything to be proud of.
Mm. You can become frustrated.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And so, for the sake of time, I want to end here because I know there's a lot more for us to talk about. But these are some of the few important areas in our lives that I believe it's very important for us to choose to become.
But how do you move from being satisfied to contentness? Because I think that's very important to really hone into that aspect, not thinking it's the same. Because with what you are saying, many people feel like it's the same, you know?
Mm, mm,
So how do you like, maybe we can differentiate what makes it different, but then how do I become content rather than satisfied? Because that frustration is really in a lot of people. And I
mm.
think at some point they're like, I mean, I enjoy doing this whole time, right? And I like where I was or I like where I am. But now I'm like frustrated and I don't know why. You know,
Yeah.
it's probably
Yeah.
because there's a result or there's something that they're looking out for and they're not seeing it. And with contentness, if you're not seeing result, you still be patient enough to probably wait, right? So,
So
mhm,
the the main thing with satisfaction, Sister Candice, and contentment has to do with the peace and fulfillment that comes with it.
mm,
So when you are satisfied in life, and I believe in season 1 we had a discussion on this. I believe it was with Dr. Kofi Bawa. That when you are satisfied in life, you settle.
okay,
You settle for where you are when you are satisfied. And that is why greed can come in. Because when you settle and the stage that you settled no longer is meeting the needs that you have, you tend to over amass things. But in contentment, you know there can be more. And the peace and the fulfillment that comes with it comes from the standpoint that when you are content, you know that there is always better. There is always a better place that you can be. You can be a more better version of you.
right.
Even if it's the same thing you are doing, you can refine it a bit more.
But how do you not
Satis-
get frustrated? Knowing that you can refine it though.
you always trying to refine,
Okay.
but you are appreciative of where you are. In satisfaction, Sister Candace, what happens is that this is what I wanted, I am satisfied, and so you don't stretch yourself any longer to become. And this is a problem because your desires are not truly met.
Mm,
But because you are not stretching yourself any longer, you settle. Now, what happens is when you see someone in your same stage but still pressing for the better version of themselves, anger comes in. And the reason why anger comes in is because at that point you realize that that could have been you.
hmm,
So everyone who is content has satisfaction where they are,
mhm,
but they know that there is more. Everyone who is satisfied
mhm.
has settled for where they are, not
Yeah.
necessarily
Mhm.
satisfied, but settled for where they are.
Okay.
And they are refusing to press for more.
Okay.
I don't know if that clarifies it.
Yes, it clarified. But what if I'm in the content stage, I'm pressing, but I'm not seeing results? What then becomes of me?
So when you are content and you are pressing for the more, but you are not seeing results, it doesn't cause the frustration because you are happy where you are.
Mhm,
If nothing else changes, you are still good. But you know that there is always more to become. And it is very important, Sister Candice, because one of the biggest areas of a battle for satisfaction and contentment really has to do with what we achieve, whether financially, emotionally, societal wise, whether status or anything. When you are satisfied with a status, you settle for where you are with that status. There are people whose life goal is
mhm.
to become a president, whether of their
Right.
high school or whatever it is. And believe you me, when such people, their life goal is accomplished and they become that
That's
president, because the motive is satisfaction, they usually make very terrible leaders
mm,
because to them, that is the end.
that's what they wanted.
Yes. But the one who desires to be the best version of themselves will be content with being the president, but will still press to be a better leader because not all presidents are leaders. So if I want to be a great leader, being a president is a byproduct of being a great leader. But
Mm.
if I want to be a president, that's it.
I got what I wanted.
There is there is no drive to be a good leader.
More.
Yes. And
Mm.
so that is one of the key ways that it plagues us in life. And like I said, it really eventually leads to a lot of envy and frustration and even greed because we don't press anymore when we are at that stage. And so we begin to do everything. We literally will corrupt everything about that position that we are in
Mm.
because we really are not looking past that.
That's
That
what
is
we
why
wanted.
that's all you want it. And that is why, Sister Candice, I always say that I don't think it's power that corrupts, but it is our corrupt nature that
Reveal
corrupts
themselves.
power. Because the same power that someone will will to do good is the same power that another person will will to do evil. And so it's truly not the power that corrupts the vessel. It's the nature of the people that hold power that corrupts power.
That's true. Well, that's very powerful. I was thinking about this because it's funny. A friend of mine was asking a similar question like this, and they were frustrated about doing something, and it's like they're not seeing anything, they're not seeing
Mm,
changes, they're not seeing growth. For example, they probably had like a prophecy, they're a man of God, right?
mm-hmm,
But then they've been doing things like evangelism, hosting Bible classes, and
mm,
things like that. But they are not seeing things like hearing the voice of God, right?
mm-hmm,
Or seeing visions,
mm,
things like that. And to them, they feel like they're stagnant.
mm,
So
mm,
they were talking to me today, and they were like, they're frustrated
mm,
because they're
mm,
not seeing anything. Like they're spending their time doing all these things when they can just venture off and probably pursue their life's dream or whatever it is. And they're asking me all these questions, and I was stuck. So it's very prophetic how this,
mm, mm,
we are talking about it. So when you got here, it really hit home because I didn't know
mm,
what
mm,
else to tell the person. Because I'm like, if I'm in the same boat, I'm not looking out to hear God's voice. I'm not looking out to see visions. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing because I believe I'm called. So I'll just keep doing
mm,
it and doing it and doing it. If I never hear God's voice, I'll just keep doing it. Right? Then you can't tell a person that's desiring yeah, that's desiring to hear God's voice, that's
right.
desiring to have visions or encounter or whatever. So that's yeah.
Yeah, Sister Candice, it's actually interesting because in our next week's recording, I will share with our audience the value of such frustrations actually that you are talking about. So I'm
The
I'm very
value,
yes,
the
the
value.
value
Like
in
a
those
sweetness.
frustrations that you are talking about, and I think your friend will be very blessed by that.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting, and I like this part because you listed about 5 things,
Correct.
and looking at all of them, I feel like it's really something that's even needed as an individual, in where you are going, where you want to be, and just you as a person, being a person of peace. Who wouldn't want to be around you? Having a good name, like these are things that are really needed. So we appreciate you, Dr. Joe. But viewers, as usual, our time is far spent. So we are going to pick up on this same topic. What are you becoming? Next week, a part 2 of this. So don't miss this. And be sure to share this to your loved ones. Go on our TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and also, of course, the podcast Hour of Healing. And I'll hand it to Dr. Joe as he wraps us up for today's thought-provoking topic.
Thank you, Sister Candice. And yes, it's thought provoking. And I believe that our audience are receiving healing as we, week in and week out, receive healing. I truly don't want our audience to miss our conversation next week because, Sister Candice, now that we know the areas of importance, the areas that it's important for us to choose to become, next week, God willing, I will be sharing with our audience some of the factors or the things that sponsor these choices. what makes these things important areas for us to focus on. And I believe they will be blessed. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you same time next week as we bring you the second part of this thought-provoking conversation. What are you becoming? God bless you. Bye-bye.